Welcome everyone to Bravo 22 Live and YouTube channel. It's wonderful to have you all here with us today, made possible by the Royal British Legion and the Drive Project. I am honoured to be hosting again today. I'm Tip Cullen, a professional actor, a Bravo 22 member, and a former Royal Marines commando, where I lived that adventure for about 30 years plus before Bravo 22 gave me my first opportunity in theatre. Today's workshop, I've been so excited about, and I'm doing it with my partner in crime, my soulmate, Kate Beales. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning, Tip, and good morning, everyone. It's really great to be here. I too am incredibly excited because we have a very, very special guest this morning. Tamsin Greig is an award-winning British actor. She's known equally for her TV work and her many varied theatre performances as well. She was recently seen in ITV's costume drama Belgravia, written by Julian Fellowes, and she's going to be seen soon in the BBC's remaking of Alan Bennett's Talking Heads monologues. So we have Tamsin here, an actor at the top of her profession, to talk to us about how she goes about understanding characters. Tamsin, welcome. It's really great to see you.
Hello, I'm very excited to be here too, and I'm speaking to Tip Cullen. And Kate Beales.
Oh, thank you.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me on to talk to you.
So, Tamsin, it will be just lovely to hear a little bit from you about how do you do this? You create all these different characters. You become, I don't know, you become a different person on stage, on screen. Where do you even start?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I don't know where I start. I start with terror. That's what I start with. I will start with a script, and if I can read, because often I find scripts very difficult to read, particularly if, for example, I'm doing something like I did at the National Theatre a couple of years ago, Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. That I would find very difficult to read because mostly Shakespeare is completely incomprehensible unless you really know about Shakespeare. And so what I'll do, if I'm having to look at that script, is that I will secretly, so please don't tell anybody, is I will go to my daughter's bedroom and I will find the box of children's books, which are individual stories of the Shakespeare tales. So I then would sneak out to Twelfth Night and then read it as a story with pictures, so that I can then go, oh, that's what happens. Oh, that's who that is. So I don't obviously tell anybody when I get into the rehearsal room that I've done that, but I know that I sort of know the story. Then I secretly go on Google and then I look at York's notes for GCSE people studying Twelfth Night. And then if I'm feeling really brave, once I've understood those, I then go on to A-level on Google. And then if I'm feeling really, really brave and stupid, I then go and look at an academic's look at the play and the character that I'm playing, but I generally don't understand that even after I've done the play.
Thank you. This is so great to know. I'm sure everybody's honestly quite relieved that there isn't some kind of secret level of talking about Shakespeare that you have to attain before you can play a character. So, okay, tell us a bit about a character that you've been cast at, where you've had to do some serious work to find out what's going on.
Okay, so in Twelfth Night, I was invited to play a character called Malvolio, which is traditionally a male character. And in 2017, the first time ever it was played by a woman. That was me. And we changed Malvolio to Malvolia. So she became a woman. Twelfth Night is the story of twins, a male and a female, who get shipwrecked and land on an I think is an island, but a land called Illyria, which is reigned over by a duke called Orsino. Both twins think that the other one has died. Viola, the female twin, dresses as a boy and names herself Cesario and tries to get a job in the court of Duke Orsino. Duke Orsino is in love with another noble lady called Olivia. Orsino is in love with Olivia. Viola comes to work for Orsino. Orsino is still in love with Olivia, sends Viola, now as Cesario, to woo Olivia on his behalf. So then we get a love triangle. Viola, dressed as Cesario, goes to work for Orsino in order to send Olivia love messages because he's in love with her. But Viola falls in love with Orsino. Viola is a girl but dressed as a boy, and Orsino thinks that she's a boy. Olivia meets Viola dressed as a boy, and Olivia falls in love with Cesario, but Cesario is actually a girl. So it's a boy, but it's a girl dressed as a boy falling in love with the woman. It's really complicated. What? I don't understand. What's happening? Olivia has a household, and the head of the household is a steward called Malvolio, who became not a stewardess, because that sounds like she works, for British Airways. So the head of the household is then Malvolia. So then what I do is I just go through the script looking for clues. That's basically what you're looking for when you start to build a character, is you're looking for clues to who this person is, what this person says about themselves, what this person says about the world. So what I do is I get, if this is interesting, I'll carry on.
Yeah, please carry on. Oh, it's fantastic.
So I've printed some things out with highlighters. I use highlighters that I'm really excited about stationery. So I go, before I go into my daughter's bedroom to sneak out the story, I go to W.H. Smith. And then I get my highlighters. Okay. So then I write, what do I say about myself? What does my character, what does Malvolio say about himself? And I put, that's my colour for that one. Okay. Then I do another sheet which says, what do I say about other people? That colour is pink. Then I write out another one. What do other people say about me? I do that in green. It's exciting, isn't it? So then I go through the play. And I either write down on my list all the things that I say about myself and all the things that I say about other people and what other people say about me. However, you could do it in a more visual way, which I sometimes do, whereas instead of writing it all out, which is quite time consuming, you have to do it 3 times through the entire play, and it's not a short play, Twelfth Night. What I'll do is this. I've got the script, and I will highlight a line when it says, for example, she says, I can't even use my glasses. Yes, and shall do till the pangs of death shake him. Malvolio is talking about Feste the clown. So I've done it in pink because that's what she says about another person. The clown, Feste, then speaks about Malvolio. So I do that in green. When I start to talk about myself, I do it in yellow. So I marvel is a great verb that begins to give you a clue about who this person is. She marvels at, and then spends those many lines talking about someone else, about what an idiot they are. So she's a person who marvels, but is also very, very vocal about what she thinks about other people. Then you get something like that, a whole page where she's only talking about someone else. And what's interesting about this is that she's talking about them to them, at their face, in their face. So then you get pink. She could be talking about another person on her own, but here you'd probably put a star there and say she's talking about that person to them. What does that say about that person? Then you get, for example, a scene like this, where Mariah, who's another servant who lives in the house, and therefore Malvolio is her boss. You then get something like this. A whole page of green where Mariah is talking about Malvolio in the worst possible terms. So she's talking about her, but not in front of her. So what does that say? So Mariah is afraid of saying these things in Malvolio's company. What does that say about that relationship? So you're picking out little clues all the time. Then I've underlined these things here. A Puritan, an affectioned ass, a time pleaser. He cons state. He's persuaded of himself. It is that he has grounds of faith that all that look on him or her love him. Now, I put a star by that because I think that's the biggest clue about the character. He has grounds of faith that all that look on him or her love her. What does that do to a person who has that level of delusion? Then you get a sort of, it's a picture, isn't it? It's like a sort of painting of what's being said about the person, about themselves, about other people, and what other people. So you're then creating a kind of 3D painting of words about a person, which gives you a kind of framework of clues.
I love this. I love it that this is it's like a detective process. And also that it's not about the text in some kind of formal way. It's like you say, it's multi-sensory. It's about painting. It's about colours. It's about stationery. It's about all the really important things. So I just want to throw this back now at this moment to Tip to see if there are any questions from the audience or from Tip yourself.
Oh, questions thick and fast, Tamsin, they're coming through, Kate. They are coming through. Quick one, double barrel one from Sarah Howarth. Do you prefer theatre or TV work? And alongside that is, how do you get through Friday night dinner without laughing?
All of these great questions. I love theatre and I love TV and film. It's a little bit like saying, which meal of the day do you prefer? I basically love eating. But what you need for each of those mediums is so different, and I love the difference. I love the difference between breakfast and dinner. And on Friday night dinner, I do not control myself. I waste much of the day wetting myself, and I'm ashamed of it.
Awesome. Right. How do you make someone else's words sound like your own? This is from Matt Whiteman. I have a script and a character's words I'm finding difficult to sound natural. Obviously, he's trying to make himself part of that character.
Oh, that's a really good question. I suppose really it's about the discipline of knowing what the words are. And I think that that's a very important part of the process, is that you bring the discipline of your craft, of being very precise about finding the clues, but then also very specific about learning the words so that they become a part of your body. So your tongue does this really weird thing that if you say a line over and over and over, you stop having to remember it because your tongue remembers how to say it. So you have this kind of muscle memory. So if you do the discipline of that work, of getting those words so inside your body that your body is remembering them rather than your brain, often then your body will tell you who that person is.
No, that's a cracking answer. And I think I answered a couple of other questions. One from Shirley is, what has been the most challenging character that you've had to play and why?
I think doing Malvolio was really challenging because it had never been played by a woman before. And I wasn't playing it as a man, as a male character. I was playing it as a female character, so that we had a lot to lose. So we were very much under the microscope, the entire company. So it's hard to do something again when people know the character really, really well. So that was very hard. I also did a musical 5 years ago, I'd never sung before, an adaptation of a Pedro Almodovar film called Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. And we did the West End version of that. So I had to learn, I spent years trying to persuade them not to cast me. And I couldn't persuade them not to. And so then I had to do a lot of work. I really can't stress enough, it's about the discipline of the work, that to make something look easy. People know this. People know this. When you go and you watch football, to watch something that looks so beautiful and so easy has taken years. And so it's about so I spent 2 years learning to sing. And it was really, 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 really hard.
And that puts you in good stead for, once you've done that sort of concentration on a certain aspect of your craft, that probably puts you in really good stead for moving forward then, or for the rest of your career.
I think that it's very important to do things that terrify us, not in a bad way. I mean, that take us to the edge of ourselves and challenge us out of our comfort zone, because I'm really keen on inertia. And I find myself being drawn into the comfortable place. And so I tend to push up against that and do the difficult thing. And, doing Malvolio, that was really taking me out of my comfort zone. And I think that's very important.
Brilliant. Let's carry on with the story.
Yeah, and listening to this listening to the whole thing about comfort zones, I'm really interested in how you took Malvolia to some really painful places, but you also messed around with yet another character who is a girl who was a boy. And yeah, just talk to us a bit more about some of those edges you came up against.
Well, Simon Godwin,
how did you find your way to them?
Yeah, Simon Godwin was the one who was really pushing the boundaries and challenging people's perceptions of what they know about the play, and to cast Malvolia as a woman, but also the clown Feste as a woman, and also the character Fabian then became Fabia. So you then got three women who are then, and then it's Feste, the two clowns, Feste and Fabia, who become the ones who then unpick Malvolia. The thing that I was most nervous about was that we would be making Malvolia a gay woman in love with Olivia. Because that's another part of the story that I didn't tell you about. In this terrible love triangle, there's another character down here called Malvolia who's also in love with Olivia. But she can't tell Olivia that. So there's this mess of hormones and desire. And I didn't want Malvolia, who is treated abysmally by the other characters, to be outed as a gay woman and then treated terribly, because then it would be a despicable form of homophobia. So we had to be really, really careful about finding what it was about her that people hated, that it wasn't the fact that she was in love with a woman, but the fact that she was a miserable bully and made other people's lives very, very unhappy. And that's what they were reacting to, rather than the fact she was in love with a woman.
Wow. And so you really take the dark side of this character, even though it's a comedy here. And
I've always seen the play and thought, why are people laughing? This is not funny. They've got Malvolio in a dark room. They've got him contained. They've got him strapped into a dark room and saying that there's no darkness, that that he can see, and trying to convince her that she's gone insane. And and throughout all of that scene, where she's trapped in the dark place, the dark room, she keeps saying, "Bring me light, bring me light, bring me light." So I'm very interested in the repetition. When a character says something more than once, in the same way or in a different way, that's the clue to their deepest fear. Wow. And so I thought, oh, okay, she's afraid of the dark.
And did that then take you kind of further back? Did you start to do some kind of exploration of what might have gone before, what might have led to that?
Yeah. Simon Godwin's very interested in backstory. So we all had to write a backstory about each of our characters. Everyone, and there were 35 people in the cast, everyone, even the non-speaking ones, had to have a backstory. And Malvolia, had a miserable childhood. And the reason that she was afraid of the dark was because of the abuse that she suffered as a child, and has become OCD to cope with her own terror, and which is why she then bullies other people.
Ooh, wow. So that makes me want to ask then, how do you hold the kind of pain of that yourself as an actor?
Yeah, I think you have to be, it's about the discipline. You have to be very careful with what you investigate and what you open yourself up to. And the fact that I agreed to have Malvolia blindfolded and then pulled around by Feste, which could be dangerous to you physically, but also mentally. That you have to be very protected in yourself to go through that every night, and so that just takes a bit of mental and emotional effort.
I can really imagine. Am I? Yes, I'm not on mute. And I would just love to ask now again, Tip, are there any more questions? Because I can imagine the questions are probably still coming in very quick and fast.
Oh, believe me, there's tons of them. It's wonderful. It's cracking. One here for you, Tamsin. With comic roles, do you have to have some kind of natural comic talent, or can you train for it?
I think with all things, there is an element of being able to learn certain skills. For example, you could play a piece of jazz by learning the instrument and reading the music. but I think there is also that, so that's the discipline. But I think there is also something in people which I think of as gifts, the things that have sort of been given to us that we are able to do. And often we don't want the gift, or we ignore the fact that it's there, or we don't ever identify it, or we trumpet it until it becomes too much of itself. So I think it's about just engaging with what is the thing that I have been given to be able to do, and then protecting it and nurturing it and letting it grow. So I have seen some brilliant, brilliant actors do comedy, but not be able to pull it off because they don't have the ear, because I think it's about a kind of musicality. Even physical comedy, I think, is about the musicality of the body. But I've also seen incredibly funny performers be heartbreaking. I worked recently with Lee Evans in a curated night of short Pinter plays, and he did a Pinter monologue, which literally broke my heart every time I saw him do it, because he has the gift of the musicality of idea and rhythm and body, and puts those all together into a place of pain and allows that then to come through. And he's absolutely heartbreaking and mesmerizing.
And that adds again, I think, the way you get into that character, he's able to transform and become that person, you know what I mean? And so you have to draw on everything. Another one here from Lorraine, a good wing person of mine. Is it difficult for you to leave a character when the role is over? Do you ever find yourself slipping back into that character?
Yes. Well, when I did Malvolia, she was very tidy. She liked plants in pots lined up in order, because then she was safe. And so I think I did do quite a lot of surface wiping while I was playing Malvolia. And I mean, that's not a bad thing, given as where we are now. We know, listen, we'll all do some antibacterial wiping down now. I mean, I think it probably did me a favor. But it is, I think it's important to leave the job, to leave as much as you can, to leave the character in the place of work, and make it. It's a really weird thing where it's a deliberate. I'm leaving you at work, so that you're not a part of me. I just participate with you in that place.
And I suppose for your own mental health as such, you have to leave it there rather than bring it home, because then you start having those sort of dreams where, oh no, who am I tonight? Well, not that it's happened to me before, but it's a similar sort of thing. One from Ian Rudge. Do you like seeing your work on screen?
I'm very critical. I'm hypercritical of what I see. And so I find it difficult, but I think it's also important to participate in that, because it helps me see when I'm not quite getting things right, or when I think I'm doing a certain thing, and then I look back and go, oh no. I thought I was doing something completely different. No, you have to, and then it's too late. You see it afterwards, and it's too late. And then sometimes I see how things have been edited, and I see, and I think, oh wow, oh, I was doing that, and you've used that in that context, and that's, so then you see what a director and an editor do together. It was quite hard. I did actually watch the NT live that they did, the broadcast that they did of 12th Night. They filmed it, and then since we've been in lockdown, the National Theatre have been putting out some of their shows on YouTube for people to watch, and I did watch that, and I was mesmerized by the entire show, because I'd never seen it from the front, so I thought the world was wonderful. But there were moments of when I watched myself and thought, oh.
I have to admit, Tamsin, when you do the monologue in the sort of jazzy cabaret thing, I was gobsmacked, and it was so magical, because you can get very fixated when you're doing Shakespeare work, but that I just thought was just inspirational, going, that is a wee bit of magic, and it's really enjoyable to watch. So sometimes it must be good for you to watch yourself doing something as magical as that, you know what I mean?
Oh, well, thank you. That's lovely to hear that. I mean, I just take my hat off to the fact that it takes so many people to make something like that happen. You know, there are so many departments and so many people with different gifts that are all so unique and beautiful and precious and utterly necessary for the process. And, you know, when I came up with the idea in the rehearsal that when she comes on in the stockings, which are, you know, this classic symbol of the play, you know, a woman coming in yellow stockings that are cross-gartered, so what? She's got a pair of jazzy tights on. So it has to be something really embarrassing. So then I just thought about my teenagers and sort of things that would really, really embarrass them. So to come up with nipple tassels that turn unexpectedly, you know, that was just a funny idea in the rehearsal room. But then you've got a whole team at the National Theatre who went and built me a bodice that could contain a motor, which would make the tassels whirl. And I think that is just genius.
Oh, this is so great. We're into our closing minutes, and I just loved listening to you talk about the clues that you find, the gifts that any person has, and also the incredibly physical responses that you have, and the way that you think about the body as not the words necessarily in the text, but the body as a conduit for that. And just to sum up, any gifts that you got from Malvolia particularly that just helped you go, yeah?
Well, what's so wonderful about that character is that she does a lot of talking to what looks like talking to herself. And there's the long scene where she finds the letter that's been planted there, which has actually been written by Mariah. It's meant to be from Olivia, saying that she's actually in love with Malvolia. So it's this terrible trick that happens. And Malvolia finds the letter and thinks that Olivia, the woman that she's in love with, loves her back. And there's this incredible moment of joy, and there's this wonderful line where she says, "I am happy," which, you know, on your list of things I say about myself is not a thing that you would normally see about Malvolia. She wouldn't say, "I am happy," but in that moment where she thinks she's loved, she says, "I am happy." But when you've got 1,000 members of the audience willing her to agree to the trick that she's loved, there's this kind of furious energy that goes past. And I suddenly one day found myself, because she was so unsure of what it is to be happy, she was furious about it. And so at the end of the speech, she says, "I am happy." Yeah. You then get a terrible clash of someone. If you say, "I am happy," and you sound happy when you're saying it, that's pretty bland.
Yeah.
But when you have a clash of someone saying something that they're not used to saying in the context of being loved for the first time, that's really terrifying. And so then you get the beautiful intersection of things that are hilarious and heartbreaking.
I have to say, you've just given me goosebumps. So yeah, what a brilliant thought, and what an amazing insight into that character, into character work in general, and into your craft and your personal way of working. Tamsin, we just need to thank you so much. So wherever you are, audience, if you wouldn't mind putting your hands together, it'd be great if Tamsin could hear you from wherever you are. So thank you so much. Thank you. That was an absolute delight. I'm going to throw it back to Tip now just to close the show.
Absolutely, truly awesome experience. I just don't know what to say. It's Tamsin Greig. Right, few look forward notes for all our gang and the members of Bravo 22. I've got 3 points. Get your notebooks out. Let's have a look at them. Yeah. Right. So the first one is our next Bravo 22 live workshop is this Thursday, 1100 hours or 11 o'clock for all those who don't habla. Then we will have Gilly Gretton doing a printmaking demo. She'll be assisted by the driest man this side of the Sahara, except when he's in Weatherspoons, Matt Whiteman, which will be brilliant. And they'll be focusing on printmaking with wood and paint. Make sure you tune in. Number 2, next Monday, the 8th at 1100 hours. So that's next Monday at the 8th at 1100 hours. We're going to be having Have a Brew with Bravo 22, which will be a Zoom call and chat so that all of our gang and our new gang can join in and have a talk over what's been happening, what we're doing, have a bit of a natter. If you want to get involved with that, just touch base with Alice P and she'll get you loaded on and send you a link out for that. The third one then, the third point, look forward, is next Wednesday. We've got 2 workshops running. The first workshop is a poetry writing workshop with Joe Bell. And also we're going to have another artistic workshop, designing with colour with Al Johnson. Both of them, there are spaces available. If you want to do both or either one, just send an email to Alice Palmer, and that's Alice Palmer at thedriveproject.co.uk. I will say that one again. Alice Palmer at thedriveproject.co.uk, and you just get yourself involved. Pass it around, get it out to everyone, share it. If you do miss this, pass it around, they can watch it afterwards. But I'll just say like a final sort of thank you very much. And maybe the last words can go to our Tamsin.
Thank you so much for inviting me along to chat with you, Tip Cullen and Kate Beales. It's been really lovely talking to you. And I just want to probably say at the last is that I don't do this on my own. I only ever do this in the company of great people, and so it's great to be acknowledged, but it's always done in the context of fantastic company. So thank you very much.
Thank you.